Well, the United States economic woes have caused jitters on markets all around the world today, even though overnight the Congress found a way out of the impasse over the nation's massive debt crisis. During the next decade, the US has no option but to impose brutal spending cuts to try to rein in its $14.3 trillion debt. That's going to be particularly hard when the economy is already in a slump, unemployment's at near 10%, and political parties are in no mood to work together. So how's it all going to affect not just American society, but also the presidential election looming next year? Earlier, I spoke to influential New York Times columnist Tom Friedman, who's in Australia as a guest of Sydney University's US Studies Centre. Tom Friedman, you've written that for the next decade at least, being a leader in America will mean, on balance, taking things away from people. Which politicians are going to have the stomach for that?
Well, it's not just politicians, it's really everybody. To be a leader in America for the last 30 years, to be a college president or to be a president of the United States, was on balance to give things away to people. We are entering an era where to be a university president or president of the United States will be on balance to take things away from people. And that's going to require a whole different kind of politics. And I think we're just seeing how difficult that is in this whole debt wrangle that's been going on in the United States.
Well, indeed, it's been further evidence of this very partisan environment that you've got existing there at the moment, and has been for a while. How satisfied or otherwise are Americans with the performance of the two major political parties?
Well, polls have shown a good, solid majority of Americans would actually like to see a third party come along and give a choice between Republicans and Democrats. It's something, I'm interested in for the right third party. I wouldn't want it to be led by Lady Gaga. I'd like it to be led by a serious person like a Michael Bloomberg. But people are deeply unhappy. My own view, and I think this is the view of a lot of people, is America is nowhere nearly divided as our politicians. But there are so many now sort of pieces in place that are just meant to divide us, whether it's gerrymandered political districts that automatically produce a Republican or a Democrat, or a media situation, 24-hour cable, where 24-hour cable was invented in America for the O.J. Simpson murder trial. But as Jon Stewart has pointed out, O.J. doesn't murder, a blonde wife every week. And so because of that, basically, you've got to fill those 24 hours with something else. And what we've done is actually turn politics into sports in America, basically. So we have ESPN now, we also have PSPN, basically. And we've turned politics into another version of sports in order to fill those 24 hours.
So if this third force did emerge, would it do so in time for the 2012 presidential election, and where would it fit on the political spectrum?
It's not clear, but if a third party were to appear, the most important impact it could make. We had a third party, of course, with Ross Perot in the first Clinton-Bush election, George Bush the father, and Ross Perot won almost 20% of the vote, and he thought little black helicopters were chasing him at the end, but he had a very serious single issue, and that was bring down the debt. And he had a huge impact. Although he didn't win a single state. He had a huge impact on the Clinton presidency and made that his #1 priority. I think if you had a serious third-party candidate who had a serious agenda, even if he or she didn't win, they might have a bigger impact ultimately on the agenda of the country than the person who does.
What role do you think the Tea Party might play in the next election?
Well, my view of the Tea Party is that they're really the tea kettle party. They're about letting off steam. They don't really have an agenda for American greatness. They're about anger. You should never vote angry. There's several things you shouldn't do. Don't drive angry, don't vote angry, okay? And so the Tea Party really is to me, all steam but no engine. That's why I call them the tea kettle party. I do believe they don't have a lot of a future because they have no agenda for American greatness. Americans don't just want to be solvent. They want to remain a great country and an important country and be able to pass on the American dream to another generation. And I think a kind of one-trick pony where all you're about is cutting taxes and cutting spending without really a vision for American greatness, I don't think that's a great prescription for a long-term political party.
How about Sarah Palin? Is she still on the radar there?
God, I hope not. Can I say that on Australian TV? Is that okay? That's really a sign of the apocalypse to me. I mean, if she were to be a serious player in American politics, I don't think she is.
Who do you think then, in that case, the Republicans are likely to settle on as a candidate?
Well, you know, a lot of people predict Governor Romney is the leading choice now. You have you have Congresswoman Bachmann out there, and she's as out there as Sarah Palin is. So right now, the Republicans, I don't think have any leading that they've decided is the clear front runner. And President Obama's having his troubles, but you can't beat something with nothing. He will still be a formidable candidate. And right now, I think the big issue for the Republicans is, what is the future of this party? I mean, are they going to be led around by the nose by Rush Limbaugh and a talk show host on radio, and by some Grover Norquist, political enforcer? I mean, we got all these Congress people who have signed pledges. I mean, I signed a pledge too. I don't know if I told you. I signed a pledge never to vote for anyone stupid enough to sign a pledge. I mean, can you imagine? We have all these people in Congress who signed a pledge to this and that person not to do this or that thing. How do you run a country in a time of rapid change and economic distress when people have put themselves in handcuffs, in the name of different political enforcers?
Reading your columns in recent times, I've sensed a bit of frustration and despair, if you like, at where things are going in America at the moment. Am I overreading how you're feeling?
No, you've got it exactly right. I'm deeply worried about my country. We're in the worst kind of decline, Leigh. We're in a slow decline. Just slow enough for people not to think they have to wait a minute. Stop everything, put down the gloves. We all got to come together, as we did after 9/11, as we did during World War II, as we did during the Cold War, and work together and fix this country. And so I'm very, very worried about America right now. I would say the American dream, that this notion that each generation will live better than the previous generation, that dream is now in play. It is in play, I would say, for the first time.
Tom Friedman, always a pleasure to have you. Thank you very much.
My pleasure. Thank you.